Welcome, everybody. This is the National Learning Community number 38, sharing across Native Connections regions, challenges, surprises, and wins. So welcome aboard. My name is Sarah Pearson. I'm the Native Connections subject matter expert and curriculum developer and Tribal Action Plan subject matter expert. And I'm here joined by Deborah Rattler. Deborah?
Hi, I'm Deborah Rattler. I'm one of the grantee technical assistants. I'm Grovant from North Central Montana. I reside in Spokane, Washington. And so we're really looking forward to hearing from our grantees today. Thank you.
Deborah, did you want to give an overview of the agenda?
Sure. Yeah, today one of the things that we're doing is we invited 6 different grantees to come on the National Learning Community today. And we really wanted to hear about, what is successful in their program, what are challenges that maybe they've encountered in their journey, from their first day that they were received their award notice, to wherever they are right now. There's a lot of things, challenges that occur, a lot of learning. There's a steep learning curve in this program that, we throw out a lot of acronyms, a lot of information right off. So there's a lot that you end up learning, but there's also a lot of awesome things that all of our grantees do, from the tabling events that you put on, the walks, the runs, the youth activities, the camps. We hear about, as GTAs, we hear about so many things that the National Learning Community is probably one of the only ways that we can really get it out in there to all the grantees, just what amazing things you're all doing in Indian country and how you're really working to stop youth suicide and substance misuse. So today we have representatives from Catawba Nation, Cocopah, American Indian Health and Family Services, Confederate Tribes and Bands of the Yakama Nation, and the Seminole Tribe in Florida. So I think we're going to go ahead and get moving on this. And you're going to be hearing some really amazing stories today. So we do have a chat box. So I would like you to make sure that you do share your name, your program name. You can add your cohort in there too if you want, and share an emoji with us to describe how your day is going. And as you listen to these stories today, please ask questions, put a comment in the chat box. We want this to be interactive, so we really want to hear from you also. So I think we'll go on to the next slide. Thank you.
Deborah, can we get started in a good way?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes.
Invite one of our grantees who would love to take a risk this morning and open us up in a good way.
Sometimes, Idella, I will offer a few thoughts to support maybe a few words from you too. We're moving from winter into spring, and boy, it's been a changing season, hasn't it? There's been a lot of change happening, lots of energy in the air. I know people are moving and grooving on the program side. Everything is happening all over the country. And I'm thinking about everything, the storms that are moving across the country right now as we speak, from Oklahoma into the Kentucky region. So we're having a little bit of technical difficulty today, but it's all good as part of the changing season of spring. Thanks, Idella.
Thank you. I noticed, Jeremy, you're on screen.
See there?
Yep, he's here. Would you like to open us up in a good way with a prayer from Yakama Nation?
I think he's muted.
Sure, I'll go ahead and do that, Idella.
I thank you.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Jeremy, and in the Yakama Nation, we say "Shith Maitski." That means good morning. And to introduce ourselves, we say Inknash Waniksha. That means my name is, or I am called. So Inknash Waniksha Istimakwayama Kushiat Wutumtki Jeremy. My tribal name is Istimakwayama, which means young eagle, and my English name is Jeremy. I work at a local church I was just ordained as a pastor a few months ago, back in October. And I work for Native Connections. I've been working for Native Connections for 7 years. Really enjoy it. I'm looking forward to today's presentation. I'm looking forward to hearing from our other Native Connections grantees and seeing what you all are doing. thank you all for joining us. I'll go ahead and open up with a prayer, and I'll say a little bit in the Yakima language as well.
Mhm. Thank you so much
Jeremy.
for that. Yes, thank you for that. Okay.
So next slide, Mark.
Oh, let's do this map really quick.
Oh, good.
We wanted to put a map up because we really have some diverse grantees that are gonna be speaking today. And so, you know, our first group that we're gonna hear from, I believe that is gonna be from the Catawba Nation in, is it South Carolina, I believe. And then after that is the second one is Catawba Nation. And we wanted to put this map together because sometimes, you know, I for a long time thought Catawba Nation was in California, and I found out they're actually down in Arizona. So I think it's really good to see, you know, where all of our grantees are at. Number 3, I believe that's the American Indian Health and Family Services up in Michigan. Number 4 is the Yakima Nation over in the central part of Washington State. And let me see, number 2, number 3.
The Seminole
Number
tribe
5.
of Florida and Hollywood, Florida, down at
Yes.
the bottom. And I think, Deborah, you meant to say that Cocopah is in south of Yuma, Arizona.
Yes.
Cocopah Indian tribe. They may be joining us a little bit later, but they've got some, their GTA is here with us today, and they brought some wonderful images to share.
Yes. Okay. Great. Okay.
So what do we mean when we say sharing across Native connections, challenges, surprises, and wins? This is a conversation that Deborah and I have had going back and forth, and we're joined today, as she said, by a number of Native Connections cohort 5 and 6 grantees from across the nation that have come with stories to share about implementation. But let's clarify what we mean by program challenges, surprises, and wins. As you know, with your work in Native Connections, when you've been working with your GTAs, they talk to us about giving time and attention to planning a program before moving into implementation. So we've been developing a strategic action plan, and during this planning time, we dream and we think strategically about the future, right? But when we have our plan all created, it's always the best ideas that we have. We start shifting into implementation. We move from the plan, from tactical to practical, from park into drive. Implementation is where the rubber hits the road, like you see on the screen right here in the middle of winter, which we're moving out of. Here, our plans move from ideas on a written page to a group of teens, for example, standing right in front of us. So during implementation, we might hit some bumps that bring us off the road, or we might turn onto a smoother road that gets us to our vision faster. We may encounter unexpected challenges like the loss of a key staff person during implementation, theft of a laptop, we've heard that happen sometimes, or difficulty reaching older youth, or surprises like landing an unexpected support from a newly elected leader, or a local news story that is written about the program that brings more support to us. But as we listen to our guest speakers and program peers, maybe you'll remember a story that you can share, and we hope you will. Now let's give a warm welcome to our speakers. Please feel free to use some of those reaction buttons that Zoom allows us to use. And welcome our first speakers. I'm going to turn it over to Deborah.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so our first one is going to be Catawba Nation from Rock Hill, South Carolina. Ashley Garris and Lacey Brooks. Please come on. You can turn your cameras on. Introduce yourself. Right.
And Mark, just advance it one more slide for us, please.
Okay. There you go.
Lacey?
Okay, so, yep. Hi, everyone. My name is Lacey Brooks. I am pretty new to the Catawba Nation. I'm their youth prevention coordinator. I was just going to start by going over a few of the projects that we had active right now, and then onto our challenges, surprises, and wins. So the one we've just finished up, we had one the last 2 weeks of March, was our team building project that was actually among the staff. So we've been completing our rock paintings, as you can see right here, for our homebound seniors. We've been having all of our departments come out and take about an hour of their time to just kind of relax, do a little bit of art therapy, and paint rocks for inbound seniors with anything that they'd like to have on there. And then we've actually sealed all of those so the paint will stay on them, and we're sending them out with meals that will go home, which is also nice for the youth team because a lot of our homebound seniors live with the 0 to 24 population we're targeting. So we hope to use it kind of to encourage team membership among our staff and also just reach out to our older senior citizens and the youth that we're targeting within our specific program. The second slide will go into our youth programming. Our two main youth programs, we have Rise After School, and the kids actually came up with that. It means Resilient, Indigenous, Strong, and Empowered, which is awesome. We have two groups, two Boys and Girls Club on the reservations. One's K through 5 kids and one's grade 6 through 12 kids. It's consistently attended by 18s and 35 elementary school kids during the school year. And those will all work on life skills, culture and team building, fostering just strong relationships among peers and with their staff so they can come to us with kind of anything they're facing, and just encouraging strong mental health and prevent any kind of dangerous behaviors in their community. The second one would be Healing of the Clay. It's based on the Healing of the Canoe curriculum. And very similarly, it's open to ages 10 to 17, a larger group. So we have 25 teens, 45 elementary school age kids. In 2023, we had a focus on pottery. And this year, the focus will be building a sweat lodge and aspects of Catawba culture. We have a lot of different things going on with the kids. Our wellness team's getting very involved. A lot of art, beading and weaving. And the final thing we're working on that isn't necessarily listed is we're going through all of the details of seeing if we can have the teen group do a mural. And the main goal we have for them is the theme of where do you see yourselves in 10 years? And we think that would be awesome to kind of have them come up with an image together, do kind of not exactly self-portraits, but kind of have them all collectively view themselves where they would want to be, hopefully like, prospering and safe, and have that image kind of in their community that they can look back on. And then kind of the specifics for the challenges, surprises, and wins. One of the challenges, I've been here for 2 weeks in this role now. And we've been going into the summertime planning for Healing of the Clay. And one of the things that we've found challenging in the first year was lecture-based curriculum. That's something we're really pulling back from and revamping. And one of the surprises really with that has been how much our teen group enjoys those interactive activities. So they've been doing some painting, a lot of team building, and I have a background of working with teens in inner city Charlotte, so about an hour north of here. But it always surprises me how excited some teen groups will get to do those types of activities, which is awesome because it's really easy to incorporate all the lessons we still want them to learn during those. And that would be kind of my win as well, personally. And our last slide on there will just be our contact information. So if you have any questions, I'm of course quite new, but I can look over them. My supervisor, Ashley, she can help as well, and we can answer anything else that you guys have questions for our programs. So yeah.
Lacey, I have a question for you. I'm also looking in the chat box too, if anyone has a question for Lacey. My question for you, Lacey, is you mentioned you're moving away from the lecture-based curriculum. Can you give a little bit more detail about that? What's the reason why, and what's replacing the lecture-based curriculum?
Yep. So we found that during the first year doing that, when we came in for Healing of the Clay, specifically pulling them from other summer camp activities, it was really difficult for our teens to focus for an hour and a half of just specifically hearing information. We wanted to open it up a little more, provide that same information through, we're doing a lot of trivia games, survey information with the kids where we can kind of hear where their heads are at from anything from substance abuse they see among their peers. And it's really interesting to see where they see their community, and also open up that conversation with actual statistics. So it's kind of groundbreaking for them to see what's actually going on basis what they think is going on. It's just a much more open conversation. We've also incorporated some just social emotional learning activities, which can be very based in like the kids doing a small art project while we have those discussions. So, and also just having the ability to even have pamphlets as well. So there's still a ton of information. We're just trying to prevent more of that sit still and listen kind of situation. And they seem to be really enjoying it so far.
Okay.
Nice.
Hey, I had a comment too on your the curriculum that you said you're using. You said you're basing healing of the clay on the healing of the canoe curriculum. For those of you that don't know about that healing of the canoe curriculum, that was created up in Washington State with the coastal tribes up there along Alaska, Canada, down to Washington, Oregon, California. They do a canoe journey every year. And that is a huge drug and alcohol free event that where the tribes over there, they actually have huge war canoes that they take out on the ocean. But they ended up developing this really awesome curriculum. And I was really impressed, Lacey, when I heard that you had your program had interpreted, adapted that curriculum, because that's a water, that was based from Washington State, and you're over in South Carolina, and that it works for you. I mean, you made it work. I thought that was what a challenge, to undertake to really make something like that work for your community. And I really liked how you renamed it Healing of the Clay, because that's tradition for you, for your tribe. And it really represents, what you're trying to do. So I thought that was just an amazing challenge to hear about. Thank you.
It's been wonderful. Our health and human services team has been doing a lot of meetings and brainstorming sessions with our youth program specifically and our tribe members who are very culturally based. So it's been just a great combination.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I really like all of those rocks that you showed us. I was really checking out those ladybug rocks in there, and they're so vibrant. What an awesome way to get those out to your seniors, to really distribute them that way. What a awesome little, something else as insignificant as a rock is going to be so memorable and valuable for the people that do receive those. So awesome activity. Okay.
All right. Yeah, thank you.
Yes. Okay. The next slide, Mark.
So this group is Cocopah Indian Tribe, comes to us from Somerton, Arizona, just below Yuma, Arizona, on the border between the United States and Mexico. And I'm not sure if Chesley or Raphael are with us yet. Can I hear from you guys if you are with us?
Yes, we're here.
Oh,
nice.
Great.
Well, I just wanted to let you guys know that I went and I found your wonderful Facebook page, and I hope you don't mind, but we did pull some of those images up just to share from your last entry in August of last year. Mark, could you advance one more slide, please? We have a couple of pictures that we just pulled that were just amazing of the young people, the youth and the children that you have in your program. It was a dance, and also, these pictures just wonderful. Do you have something that you could share with us about that?
So that one, we did it back in July. It was a bird dancing, and then we did a few presentations, and then we had like a water slide for the kids. It was about 4 hours, and we had people coming in from the Mexican side, the Cocopah from the Mexican side. So he was doing the bird singing, and then the women were doing the dancing. It was just to get the people together in the community center before the kids went back to school. So we were trying to bring more events to the community. So we worked with that, and then we had food, snacks, the games with the kids. And then this has been like a ongoing thing here in the community. It's either Native Connections working together with other departments to do this event, or we have other departments taking charge of it. So, for example, that was during the winter, and then our past event was the Winter Games. So the Winter Games, we were trying to bring more activities for the kids here, because most of the events that we do here in the community, a lot of the kids felt like they were not towards them. It was more for like the older people or events just with information. So they wanted to be more active. They wanted to have some sort of games, competition. So that's when we came up with the Winter Games. So we did competitions. It started from 9 in the morning. We did the registration prior. If they wanted to be part of a group, we had 4 members in each group. So they had to do the registration, put their shirt size, and then we can work on that and getting them. Everyone had a shirt that it said their COCOPA Youth Coalition. And then that same day, we know that a lot of people don't have access to the internet. So we were having an open registration that same day. So for example, we started at 9 a.m. They were doing a walk run just to warm up. And then we did presentations. We had different people from departments. So we had IHS was doing the healthy eating and pre-diabetes presentation. We had an elder from the community talking about the culture here in COCOPA. We had our counselors from our department here as well, talking about harm reduction, prevention of substance and suicide. And we had Miss Indian Arizona. She gave a presentation about her experience after college and being a youth athlete in school. So we had those 4 presentations, and then we were able to move over with the Winter Games. So we had volleyball, soccer, basketball, and kickball. So we had 4 sports, and they were all playing and rotating in each area. So we had most of the sports being played at the community center, and then they would walk over to one of the parks here in the reservation to play soccer. So we were not hoping, we were not expecting that the kids were going to be playing the whole day, since it started from 9 a.m. all the way to 5 p.m. So we were kind of struggling to make up a plan, but everything went out great. All the kids stayed. They were playing. They were having fun. Even the families were, the parents were really competitive. They were like, go, run, do this, do that. So it was really fun to see the parents' involvement. Even grandmas, grandpas, uncles, everyone was there. All the community came together, and we had over 40 kids registered for the games. And then we have the parents as well. So they had the option to be outside with the kids or be inside, where they had other vendors as well. Different agencies were handing out information. The kids were in charge also of handing out the food. So we did like kind of like Subways. So the Youth Coalition was serving the people. So that was another thing that we were able to work with them, and they were really happy about it. Like they felt that that job, and they were like really actually helping out and going into the kitchen and looking for something that was missing, or handing out napkins, handing out the drinks. So they were really active through the whole day. So what we did, we were promoting physical fitness, promoting mental health, fostering social interactions, educating about health and nutrition, and building confidence and self-esteem. That was our goal. But we did have some challenges. Like, for example, here, since COCOPA has 3 reservations, we're in the west, and that's where our community center is, and that's where we most of the time try to do every event here because we have the community center. But for example, we have the north reservation and the east reservation. Even though they're smaller, transportation is a big thing here. So for a lot of the families, we try to provide transportation if we can, whether it's from having the community center picking them up, or White Cat coming in to pick them up. But sometimes it can be a struggle for the family, since sometimes they're a big family. So the community engagement was something that we were not able to bring the families from the north or the east reservation. Also, the budget constraints at the beginning of the planning, that's where, like, for example, we couldn't buy food, so we had to go talk to other departments here that could provide the food. That's when we came in to talking with other departments, THMP, the Tribal Health and Maintenance building here. And they have a grant where they promote pre-diabetes and healthy eating. So they were able to provide the food with that grant. And that's how we collaborated together. And we were able to promote that education piece also in the presentations. We had other departments providing like the water slides. Community center was providing every like sports related thing, like the baseball, the kickballs, the volleyballs, the nets, just doing all the athletic part of it. IHS was doing the presentation, and then our counselor was providing that presentation as well. So for the gifts for the winners, we were able to get donations from the departments as well, and little like gifts for all the families as well. And when it came to staff, we have in our program, it's only Rafael and I. So we had to go out and about to looking for volunteers. And sometimes when it's not for your program, like we tend not to have a lot of volunteers here. So at the beginning, it was a struggle, but then since it became a bigger thing and people were noticing that it looked like it was going to be a big event and families were going to participate, that's when we got a lot of volunteers as well. So the experience for the kids, they did teamwork and collaborated together. They were the ones recruiting the kids at different events prior to this one, to the Winter Games. We had a health fair at IHS, and our youth coalition was in charge of getting recruitment for other kids. So they were providing the registration forms and handing them over to their neighbors, friends. So that gave them another task for that. So they were working and trying to get more kids involved in that. And now we're going to be working on our spring or summer games. So they wanted to do another one. They felt like we can do this like an ongoing sports game. So we're planning on doing a next one. And we're going to continue to do the winter ones as well.
We have a couple of extra slides of images. Mark, can you advance a slide? And then this little man on the far left is just unbelievably adorable. Is this part of the same activity that you just described, the same event?
No, this one, I believe this is the back to school event that we do here in July.
And this looks like older youth.
Yes. So that one is the canvases. So I think that one is when we did the mental health and they were doing describing different words to describe themselves.
Thank you so much. Did you have anything else, Chesley or Raphael, to add for COCOPA's programming? Your challenges, surprises, and wins.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions from our folks?
This is Marty. I don't have a question. I just have a comment for both of my grantees, Catawba and COCOPA. I'm very proud of you all. You all have overcome a lot of things, and you all are doing wonderful work that others should look at and emulate. So good job to Chesley and to Lacey and everyone for what you all are doing. I'm glad you all could come on today.
Mm-hmm. Great, thank you. I think we had a comment in our chat box. You know, Nikki White from Arapahoe said, "This looks so wonderful." She said she wished she could see the music, you know, hear the music and see the children dancing. But I think your pictures are worth 1,000 words there. They were great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes. Next slide, please. Okay. Well, I think next we're going to hear from the American Indian Health and Family Services from Detroit, Michigan. So Sally, if you could come on, please, and introduce yourself.
Hi. I was also going to share my screen for
Okay,
This PowerPoint,
yes.
okay. Can you guys see it?
Yes. Yes. Mhm.
Okay, Ani, my name's Sally Renee Wapsis. I am a Little River Band of Ottawa Indians tribal member here in Detroit, here in Michigan. I am the Director of Community Wellness at American Indian Health and Family Services here in Detroit. And for our Native Connections grant, what I wanted to share was a program we had, kind of our challenges, strengths, and improvements. So
Sally, this is Mark. You can switch that display at the top again. If you want to go full screen, I'm still seeing both of your slides there. There you go. Looks great. Thank you.
okay, here we go. So last year in August 2023, we held a GONA, and I have a little video I would like to share. Elbow to elbow. Now, every time we do this, watch them find somebody new. Still in play. There's a practice run. Over your horse. Over your horse. Over your horse. Is it a horse? So I really wanted to share that video. I think it captures a lot of what the GONA helps create, the bonding with our community and our families. It was our youth GONA, but we also had it intergenerational, where we had great grandfathers, grandfathers. We had a combined family together, several generations of a family together. Our Native American vets were included and partake. And you think about this, in the early 70s, they would have never have thought a program like this would exist and bring our communities together. So I think it was really special for our Native American vets to see something like this come together with our communities. Some of the positive impacts we seen were acknowledgement and healing, Indigenous theoretical framework, hope, connection, and family bonding. These were positive impacts. Some of the challenges we've seen were staff turnover. And this is probably within the first, the year that the GONA was going to happen. So it was new staff coming on and moving this event for our community forward. Funding for food. A lot of our grants do not allow for food, and when you're having families come in from great distances, it's really, it can take a financial toll on them. So we really want to be able to provide like a breakfast and a lunch while they're there. And so our challenges were finding funds for that. We were able to do, but it is challenging. survey preparation and feedback. And this is a challenge. It wasn't because we didn't know about it. We were very aware of it. It's just, I don't think we realized to the extent we needed or how we needed to prepare for this. So example is at the end of the event, we're trying to get our surveys where a lot of people have already left the event, or there wasn't a clear way to get the survey information to them. So I know next time that we'll be really prepared and to ensure we're getting the surveys back. So we're hearing from the community and our families. Some of the accomplishments were turnout and multi-generational participation, cultural enrichment, holistic youth development, and diverse Native American family engagement. So you have families, tribes all the way from the East Coast to the
Did
West
her screen
Coast.
just freeze up? Sally?
Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you froze up momentarily, but you're good again.
Okay, so ultimately we were able, our community was able to create positive memories, and we were very pleased at the event and got great support from our GTA hunter. And we're looking forward and we're planning our next one right now. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. You know, it's really good to see all these photographs of the GONA and how interactive this all is, because I think we have some of our cohort 9 grantees on here that are just learning about what a GONA is. And so I think that you really showed an awesome representation of, you know, how much fun those can be, but also in your slides there, you talked about, you know, what are some of the things that came out of that. So thank you for that. Yeah, those were really good. Is there, I know we have, you know, I'd really invite any of our grantees or anybody on here, any of our participants, if you'd like to unmute and ask any questions, you are, you know, certainly welcome to do that. Okay.
Hi, Sally. I have a question. This is Idella. I'm a GTA. The question I have is, what are some of the ideas or thoughts around collecting surveys? Because you had talked about that. I just kind of wanted to come up with maybe what you did to resolve that, or your ideas for next time.
Being prepared, knowing that going in, this information really needs to be captured ahead of time, not towards the end. I mean, because there's so much to prepare for, so much to plan, that you think survey, okay, yeah, we'll do it, we'll get to it. But then at the end, you're like, oh my gosh, there's so much information. I don't have, so many people did not complete this. And it's getting the opportunity ahead of time versus the end. I think that it's finding a way to connect them right away when you first start and keeping them engaged, and maybe a final ending. That, because you really do want to capture as much as you can.
I think the other one I think about is during the GONA itself is we have a lot of that Belmont process. And so think about that too, kind of utilize some of that stuff that's in GONA for some of the evaluation, because that's one of the things we're trying to capture, what people see, what people hear, and what they experience during those times. So just a little suggestion, because I know it's sometimes you can make all the best plans and there's going to be just one thing that might pop out, and it's like, oh, but it looked like a wonderful one. And it looked like we had a couple of our co-workers on there, Hunter, Josh, and Jacqueline, I think I saw.
Were you guys able to see the video?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. Okay, yes.
And we know
That
a
was-
lot of Hunter songs.
Oh, that was
That,
great.
that was awesome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
I have to
Thank
keep my,
you.
I think, let's see, our next slide.
We'll want to
Okay.
advance. These are more of Sally's slides, just more of her images. through those, that's a beautiful image of Hunter at the Gona.
Mhm.
And then we're moving forward. Are we ready for the Confederated Tribes and Bands of the Yakama Nation?
Yes,
Jeremy.
Idella, you want to introduce him?
Yeah. So I wanted to jump on here also. Jeremy Garcia, he's going to be presenting. He presented at our Pacific Northwest Regional Learning Community. He was our last spotlight presentation of the year 2023, but I had been wanting him to present about this for a little while, and so he was able to make a presentation, put it together, and it was just really powerful. Listening and hearing throughout the year what this group has been doing, what he's been doing with his youth, to me, it was just so awesome. And where I'm at, I don't hear a lot of people using this as prevention. And so I'm super excited to have you guys all check out his presentation, but he's from the Confederate Tribes and the Bands of the Yakama Nation. Jeremy?
Well, thank you, Idella, for the introduction. I'm happy to be here. Again, thank you all for joining us today. I do have a quick question. So my slides, I don't think transferred over properly. Would I be able to share my screen also?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I will start that right now while we're getting ready to present. So I'm going to share my screen right now, and it looks like it popped
There
up.
you
Can you
go.
see the slides? Great.
Yes.
Okay, so as Idella mentioned, I'm from Yakama Nation. Again, for us, we say Shich, well, it's, I guess, day now, Shich Pachwai, which means good day. And I had a really unique opportunity. I was able to teach a Native American flute class. And so I'll go ahead and go to my next slide here and show you a couple of pictures. So on the screen, you can see on the top left, that was our very first flute class. That was back in 2022. We started it was around October or November. The idea was to have to learn some Christmas songs and do a concert in December. And on the top right, you can see that was our second class. We had that second round was during the spring. And we decided, instead of doing Christmas songs, we decided to do an improv class. So students learned how to play from the heart and really create their own music and their own melodies. And then on the bottom right, you can see a picture that was from our third round of classes. And we did another Christmas concert at that time. So in our first class, we had 4 students. In our second class in the spring, we had 5 students. So that was 3 returning students and then 2 new students. And then in our third round of classes, we had a total of 10 students. That was 5 returning and 5 new students. So this really has been growing and expanding, which is very exciting. I'll go ahead and go to my next slide here. And I'll show, this is a picture from our first Christmas concert. Again, we had our 4 students. They learned how to play some Christmas songs. And there's a resource that I utilized for this. It's called Flute Tree. So if you look up flutetree.com, if you just look that up on Google, you can find it. They have some sheet music for Native American flute songs. And I basically went to flutetree.com and I found a list of different Christmas songs and found ones that I was familiar with. And we taught those ones to our students. So, and I think it was about 6 to 8 weeks, maybe up to 9 weeks that we took of classes to prepare for this. We met twice a week, and the students, they all learned their songs, they performed, and the people who were there, I think we had about 20 or 30 people there for that first concert, and they were really excited. They really enjoyed it. And you can see on the right side of the screen, there's a picture there. That's a Facebook post that one of the community members posted about our concert. And I just highlighted a couple of things on there. First off, one of the things she said is, I'm happy to see groups of people work together for a good cause. She was talking about the collaboration. This was between my program at Yakama Nation Behavioral Health as a Native Connections grantee, and we worked with the tribe's youth activities program, as well as the Yakama Nation Boys and Girls Club, which just recently started. So we all worked together and partnered together to put this class on. I'm very thankful to those two programs because I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. Another thing that to the post said, another highlight there is it says that that the MC, which was me, mentioned that it was a form of prevention, and that was so uplifting to hear. And she goes on and she explains how she talks to her daughter about that, about prevention, about having a positive attitude, about not wanting to be depressed, or and also wanting to learn new skills. One of her student is in basketball, and so she said she was really glad for her to be able to learn such a beautiful instrument. Another highlight is she said she pointed out that we hope to have more classes, and that she highly encourages this for other teenagers, and that this is a safe place for them to learn a beautiful instrument. So it was really cool to see that the prevention element really stood out to community members enough that she would include that in her post. That was super exciting.
Mm-hmm.
On our next slide here, you can see, so I mentioned we did 3 total rounds of classes. On the top left, you can see this was our second round of classes in the spring. This is where we focused on improvisational playing. So we had 5 students, and that it was a great time having the 2 new students come in, and they were learning the flute from the start, from scratch, and then 3 students who already knew the basics that the other students were learning. It kind of changed the dynamic of class because now we had advanced students and beginner students, but they were all learning something new together, which was improv. And so we had a good bonding experience through that class. On the bottom right, you can see a picture. That was our 3rd round of flute classes, where we did a Christmas concert with our 10 students. So again, the class is growing. The community is getting more engaged in this. They showed up for each of those concerts. We get some positive feedback from those. I'll go to my next slide here. We have a few pictures.
Wow.
You can see on the top row, on the left side and the right side, this is a performance that the first round of flute students did at the tribal school's elders dinner. So they had an opportunity to perform, and that was kind of like a practice concert leading up to our big concert. So that was really cool. The students have had a number of opportunities to perform at various places throughout the community because it's growing. People are hearing about it. They're getting excited to hear young people playing the flute. And on the bottom row, you can see this is a performance at our Yakima Nation Legends Casino. And this was so the top one was the tribal schools elders dinner. This one was the whole tribe's elders dinner. And it was a much larger venue. The students had an opportunity to perform. You can see on the bottom left, that's us backstage, getting some practice in, prepared to go up on stage. And I'll point out also, we had royalty with us. This was a junior miss for a local powwow. She was a part of the class. And so whenever we did performances, she would dress up in her full regalia. And that was a privilege to have her and her family in support of this. Very cool stuff. I'll go on to another slide here. This is a picture from our improvisation. This is a picture of our 3rd round of classes where we learned some more Christmas songs. And there are a few things that I want to touch on about these flute classes. One, why did we do flute classes? Well, what we really wanted to focus on, as I had mentioned before, is prevention, suicide prevention. But we also wanted to talk about resiliency. The thing is that when you learn a new skill, any sort of new skill, including an instrument, for example, you are going to make mistakes. But if you keep on practicing, you will make less and less mistakes. And so that's a skill that can be applied to our daily lives. If you mess up, you don't have to beat yourself up. You get up, you keep going, and you grow and you improve. Also, when you're performing, you might experience some anxiety or some nervousness. And if you start with small tasks, so for example, our students, not only were they learning a new instrument, but they also had to learn in front of other people. That can be an intimidating thing because now you're going to make mistakes in front of a bunch of strangers. And so that's step one. They had to play in front of their peers, and then we would do practice performances. So they would perform in front of small audiences leading up to our big performance. And so we were able to break these things down into smaller steps. And that's a life skill that you can learn to be able to work through anxiousness, nervousness, and to be able to feel a sense of accomplishment. And then, of course, that develops a sense of community when you have other students who are learning the skill with you and people make mistakes. And rather than laughing at each other or making fun of each other, we support each other. So there's a sense of community there also. And all of that ties into resiliency, which is, being able to face challenges. And when you experience difficulty, you bounce back, you get up and you keep going. So learning an instrument is a great way to do that. There were some challenges that, excuse me, my slide, these are my notes here that popped up on the screen. I'll remove those. So I want to talk about some challenges. The first challenge was identifying where to purchase the flutes. That was a challenge because a lot of websites, they'll have these beautiful flutes. Sometimes you can buy a beautiful flute, but it doesn't sound very well depending on how it was made. And so you could have flutes that look really nice and they cost a lot, but they don't have the sound that you're looking for, the sound quality you're looking for. And not a lot of websites have sound clips where you can listen to what their flute sounds like. We were fortunate, again, the Boys and Girls Club that partnered with us, the Boys and Girls Club manager, she drove from Washington to Oregon to visit a place in person to go buy flutes for our class. And very fortunate that she did that. She made a good selection and she chose flutes that were a decent quality for a beginner flute. And through looking online, we were able to find some additional flutes that also have a good quality. You can see in the picture there, one of the students is holding the flute. That was actually our level 2 flute that we used. It was a lower tone, which means you have to spread your fingers out a little more, which can be a little challenging for beginner flute learners. And so we were able to find these flutes that their website is called Stellar Flutes. And they have videos online, so we were able to actually watch them play their flutes and hear what it sounds like, and we chose to go with those ones. Another challenge is developing curriculum. There aren't really established curriculums on teaching Native American flutes. Like in middle school, I played the contemporary flute in band, and they have, music teachers who go to school to study music theory and learn how to teach. But there isn't something like that established. I couldn't go online and just download a curriculum for teaching a flute class to students. I had to develop that from scratch. And so that was really challenging, but also really fun. And I had to do that for 2 different types of classes, for our Christmas concert and for our improv. And so so there were some challenges there. But I also want to share one more thing on the future of flute classes. We have some exciting opportunities to expand. Some of the local schools on our reservation have been reaching out to me and asking if we could teach a flute class at their school. A couple of them have even said that they have funding to purchase flutes, and if we can, as Native Connections, go and just provide that, teaching the classes. One of the things we're also looking into is there are various websites that have flute carving kits. So you can buy a flute that's pre-bored and the notes are already drilled, but it's like a square block. And so you just kind of carve it yourself and you can design it and decorate it how you want. That's something that Youth Activities in the Boys and Girls Club and us as Native Connections are looking at. I'm also hoping that we can get into recording. So our students who are more advanced, who have been doing performances for a while now, for over a year now, I'm hoping that we can start doing some recording and editing. So there's some exciting potential for expansion there. And then also the Boys and Girls Club has a Native Summit in Arizona. They heard about our flute class and they asked if our students would be willing to travel to Arizona at their summit to perform for them and to talk about our flute class. So that's an exciting opportunity. And then the last thing is, I'm hoping if this continues to go on, that at some point, the students who have been learning the flute and who are excelling and doing really well, I'm hoping that they would become teachers and teach new flute students. So that's something that we'll be looking at for hopefully our next round of flute classes. That's what I have for our presentation today. Are there any, thank you again for having me. Really happy to be talking about this. Are there any questions?
From our participants, I have a question. I don't see anything in the chat box yet. But that was Jeremy, that was fantastic. I mean, the energy, the excitement. Do you see, I'm thinking when you were talking, I had all these ideas in my head. Where can you go from flute classes? Are there other ways to go with the flute? Could you expand drumming? I don't know. I'm guessing art. Where would you go from here?
You know, that's not something that I had thought about before. We did have a student who had his own personal drum, and so we asked him to bring it for one of our, some of our classes. And so we did try to start incorporating the drum. It didn't really take well, but we didn't think about intentionally incorporating the drum. So I'm sure we could expand to include drumming. I know some local schools have, like the Yakima Nation Tribal School has a drum group where they learn how to play the drum, like a large bass powwow drum. And so I'm thinking maybe we could do some collaboration there. Yeah, great question. Thank you.
Wow.
Oh, Deborah, I don't see anyone in the chat box asking questions, so it might be time for us to shift to the slide forward to the Seminole Tribe of Florida. From down South Florida, we have a video to share with you that Mark has queued up in just a moment, showing program coordinator Aaron Casham and I think a little bit of Director Shamika Dean. I don't know if they're with us today on the call. Their GTA is Verna Mickelson. I don't know if Verna was able to join us today. She said she was going to try. Verna, are you there?
It doesn't look like it.
Okay. So go ahead, Mark, when you're ready, when you can cue it up. Let's see it from the very beginning. I just it will take just a little bit of time, and it's a wonderful video. Thank you so much, Mark. There's Vernon.
Juanin, welcome and hello. Verna Mickelson, Indigenous Cause, Gawaba, Bigana, Kagan, Dunjaba. Verna Mickelson, member of the White Earth Band of Ojibwe, and a GTA with Native Connections. So welcome everyone to the National Learning Community Session. We are gathered at the beautiful Seminole Tribe of Florida at their Big Cypress Reservation, where the Native Connections staff is graciously hosting us, my colleague Valerie Pangayak and I, this week for suicide prevention education workshops and a view of their beautiful community garden. And we are here to talk about highlights, successes, challenges, and surprises with their community initiatives through Native Connections, partnerships, collaborations, and efforts. And so I'm going to let the staff introduce themselves and talk about those areas, including our Native Connections team and Community Advisory Board member. And so, miigwech, a big thank you all for having us this week and doing this recording today. And so Aaron Casham, I'll let you introduce yourself. Aaron's going to share with us some challenges of the Native Connections program so far.
Yeah, so thank you so much for this opportunity, Verna. As you mentioned, my name's Aaron Casham, and right now, currently with the Seminole Tribe of Florida, I serve as the Community Programs Administrator. So I help oversee several of our grant programs within the tribe, including Native Connections. But I started 3+ years ago with the tribe in 2020 with Native Connections as the program manager. Yeah, so.
And you've seen lots of highlights and lots of challenges. Could you talk about some of those challenges for us?
Yeah, I think, one of the challenges, being cohort 5, our grant started in 2019, but when I started in 2020, the pandemic was well underway. And, as many of our communities experienced, there were government shutdowns, there were limits to in-person services and things like that. And so one of those challenges that we faced was how to continue and build some of our community involvement with our advisory board in a way that was safe for the community as well. I know there was a lot of fatigue from some of the online meetings, and also out here in Big Cypress, some of the connectivity can at times be a bit challenging depending on where folks are located. And so one of those things that, you know, we looked to do was find ways to be able to engage and to have those gatherings in a way that was safe for those involved. And so I was just, you know, so pleased to work with some really wonderful community members who were flexible in meeting outdoors. You know, we're having a conversation right now underneath a chickee, and that's how we had started having those advisory board meetings, was under some of these very same chickees, and had some really great conversations, a lot of really great learning for myself. Some additional challenges that then came along the way, of course, was just being able to connect with folks. I mean, Native Connections, of course, is all about connections, and when a lot of things were remote, even coordinating with other departments could be challenging. So finding ways to get in contact, our community advisory board members, including Marty Bowers, who will be introducing himself in a bit, were really great at connecting us with some of those folks across the tribe where, you know, maybe we wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise as a program.
Awesome, beautiful. Miigwech, Erin, fabulous to hear, and grateful you've stuck with the program enduring all these challenges and moving into successes. Ms. Shemeka Dean is the Native Connections Program Manager at Seminole Tribe of Florida. And Shemeka, unique experiences that you've encountered during your time with the program.
It's been a pleasure working with the Seminole Tribe Native Connections Program. As a non-Native, it's important for us to hear and listen to the needs of the community. And we do that by listening to our Native Connection Advisory Board. And as Erin mentioned, Marty Bowers, he was the visionary for the garden. And he saw that the garden was a connector for the different Seminole Tribe departments, and allowing them to come and deliver subject-based information to the community. So Native Connections grant has been like the bridge for that, and reaching out to the different departments and coordinating monthly programming for them to come in and deliver those services to the community. So far we have about 5 strong connections with different departments, like Integrative Health Department, Boys and Girls Club, Recreation, Environmental Resource Management Department, and with the Native Connections grant and climate resiliency. So for example, climate resiliency, they hosted a Arts in a Garden, and with the Native Connections grant, we were able to purchase and supply the materials for that, and purchasing art easels and paint, canvases for the youth to come out and enjoy. So we've been able to successfully do that as far as using the grant funds to purchase supplies. And yeah, so
Really bringing the youth out together and
Yes.
combined in the garden with nature activities. It's been a lot of fun and unique ways with that art. I love it.
yes. And another example is when the children are out of school, Recreation Department will partner with us and bring the children out, and they'll plant different produce. We did cilantro one time. We did sweet potatoes and different events in the garden.
Awesome partnerships and much needed. Thank you.
So at this point, Deborah, do you see anyone in the chat who might have some questions for us?
No, not at this time, but if anybody here would like to ask any questions for any of our grantee speakers, you know, again, please add your question in the chat box or unmute yourself.
Hey, Deborah, this is Mark.
Mhm.
They're going to put that full video out on Weekly Digest next week or so. So be on the
Okay.
lookout for that full video.
All right. Thank you. Yes.
Fabulous. So I really like the description of Native Connections being about making connections and how Seminole Native Connections, the Seminole Tribe of Florida's Native Connections group used the community garden as a way to build relationships across tribal departments, bringing youth in and making that as a focal point. So the Native Connections effort was sort of found deep roots literally in that community garden. So that was a wonderful example. Idella, did you have any thoughts or anyone else, any other GTAs on the call today?
I think Murray put in the chat box, you know, great presentations and beautiful ways of showing how making connections through the grant efforts. I think that's what's so awesome about this kind of an national learning community, when grantees are able to share about what they're doing. These, you know, from that map you seen at the beginning of the presentation, all of our grantees are across Indian country, and just the dedication you hear from each one of the speakers, you know, with the programs, you know, and how they really move forward with these activities. And I really like the variety of activities that were showcased here today. Just such a big variety. And all of these are, you know, we're all small programs, 1 or 2 people, most of your programs. So, you know, dream big, you know, really use your imagination and, you know, put those activities forward for your youth in the communities. So at this time, I'd just like to really thank each of our presenters that were on here for taking the time to work with us to really share, you know, your challenges, successes.
Hey, Deborah.
Your programs. Yes, go ahead.
I also wanted to, with Lacey in your presentation, it was really good to see that healing of the canoe and its cultural adaptations. That's one of the things. I know Jeremy had to run to another meeting, but I know that's one of the things Yakama Nation is doing right now is with the healing of the canoe. They too are canoe people, river canoe people, but where the healing the canoe came from, it's from the coastal region. And so I love listening to how people are modifying these evidence-based curriculums to you know, to adapt to their communities. And so I thought that was pretty cool, some of the conversations Jeremy and I have had about because in his community he belongs to a board that oversees a lot of these cultural adaptations for different types of curriculums to adapt it to the Yakama Nation. The Yakama Nation really has taken control of the type of education that they want their children, their Yakama children, to have. And so they are always examining and looking at anything that comes into the nation. And I think that is so critical and important. So I really appreciated hearing that. And yeah, that's pretty cool. What Jeremy and them are looking at is how to adapt the interior river type of canoe to the canoes that is presented in the healing of the canoe. So I never would have thought about that myself. I'm a Plains native, and sometimes when I think of coastal, I think there's so much that is similar. And so it was really awesome hearing from Jeremy and how they're adapting this curriculum. And it's we're all in the same state. So for the healing of the clay, that was pretty awesome to hear. Do you have, could you share anything about your cultural adaptations with that evidence-based curriculum?
Yep, we definitely could. I can send something over. Ashley will have more information from that because she was because I wasn't working here yet during the time last summer when they were implementing it, but I know she has a lot of information she can send over for it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was awesome to see and hear. That's because there is so much. That curriculum is pretty awesome.
Yeah, thank you guys. I'll let her know. She'll be excited and we'll get together and send it over.
Okay, thank you. Let's see. If there are any other topics that grantees would like to hear on these national learning communities, you know, this is specifically for grantees to share what they're doing, you know, throughout the year. So If you would like to be a presenter on a future National Learning Community, we usually do these. This year we've done 7 of them, or that's how many we're doing this year. But we'd really like to feature, other grantees, so you can share, what you're doing in your community. Just makes everybody stronger to hear what we're all doing. So, thank you. Our next slide, please. Okay. Okay. Well, we have some webinars coming up that I think are really important to see. That cybersecurity and bullying is going to take place on April 30th. That's National Indian Women's Health Resource Center in Tellico, Oklahoma. They have a partnership with Homeland Security. And so they put together a really dynamic presentation that they do. It is focused on the students. There's 2 presentations in that series. The first one, the community presentation, will be at the West Coast Regional Site Visit next week. Then we have the traditional ecological knowledge, connecting spirit, land, and self. That one is going to be on June 4th. So we're really looking forward to seeing that one. And then in between there, we do have another one on understanding educational trauma and how to create programming to support young American Indian students. That webinar is going to happen on May 14th. And traditional foods as medicine. Oh, is that one? Oh, that one is the one for June 4th. And I think our very last one is going to be healing and building protective factors for youth through Indigenous art. That one will be during the summer, July 23rd. Please check with your weekly digest for further information about all of these webinars. We also have a podcast series, and those podcast links are also in the weekly digest every week. So please refer back to those. And again, thank you everybody for being on this National Learning Community today. Anything else? All right.